Come for the Reddit posts, stay for the oppression. It's science. School of Beards, Wee One Edition. I guess we're just gonna throw this in here as like a 7.5. If you've missed the previous parts, they're in a playlist in the description. Thanks so much. Hey y'all, Wee One here. Nice to meet ya. Your usual OP, my mom has encouraged me to share my perspective on the School of Beards, seeing as a few of them were my teachers. So here's a cast list as I see them. Wee One OP, a very confused 10th grader that does not like drama. Mandy, my mom, your usual OP, Emerald Aussie. She also provided us with Squirrel Beard, which I'll totally get through at some point. Yes, this is OP's mom, who didn't deserve to be treated as she was, because anyone with a brain should be able to understand nuance. Very headstrong and tenacious woman. I'm a fan, very glad to have her in the community. All of you guys, it's a family affair now. Beetle/dad is Mandy's husband, aka my dad. Too nice at times, doesn't like confrontation, but is a good person. Also has a brain and understands intent, unlike our beards. Englishbeard EB was my English teacher in year 10. His class was okay-ish, but I had trouble focusing on work because he never stopped talking. In the middle of the year, he just gave up and watched YouTube at his desk and always gave us busy work. Avid Beard is AB, was my English teacher in year 9. Very sarcastic in the classroom, liked my neighbor Totoro a lot, and had a haunted Edgar Allan Poe poster. Man, she's doing Edgar Allan Poe all wrong. This is terrible. She dipped her finger in all the pies, but was professional with students, at least. Unlike Pitbeard, PB. Well, luckily she was never my teacher, but she would often go into one of my parents' classrooms at the end of the day and would complain about how she hated her job and all this and that. Avid Beard and Pitbeard won't be in this story. I just added them so you can see how I remember them. And I do appreciate that. So that's all for the cast list. Let's get into this story about Englishbeard. For context, our school works on an A-day and B-day schedule. So when things went down in his 4th period, I would have had to wait to see him until the next day. A days are periods 1 through 4, B days are periods 5 through 8. That B-day morning, after the incident, I hadn't gotten the chance to hear about what Englishbeard did, but my mom and dad talked with me about it before we even got to school. Wee One, have you heard anything about Englishbeard? Mom said, and I shook my head. Not really. Nothing more than the fact that no one really likes having him as a teacher because he never stops talking. They shared a glance before Mom spoke up again. Well, we just wanted to tell you that we're pulling you from your 8th period today because of something that happened yesterday in his 4th period. I got a little bit worried. What happened? She took a breath. Well, you know how hate speech has been really bad this year? Yeah. Well, some students in his classroom were using the N-word to address each other, and Englishbeard got frustrated with the speech in his class. So let me preface this with the fact that he's still a good person who just made a mistake. Yeah, buttered it up a little bit. What did he do? OP asked. Mom hesitated for a moment, trying to find a gentle way to break this to me without making Englishbeard sound bad. He approached the students, and in a moment of frustration, he said, "You will not say the N-word in my classroom," except he, actually used the word. Again, can I borrow a French fry? I was surprised because this was the teacher that prided himself on being the most accepting of everyone. At the beginning of the year, he gave a speech on how he was the biggest oppressor because he's tall, fat, white, male, etc. He even shared a story of how a short kid came to him and said that she was intimidated by how tall he was, and how he has to slouch so he's not so intimidating with a large figure to add to that. I kid you not, this guy went on a full 45-minute rant about how he was the biggest oppressor and how he wanted everyone to feel comfortable talking to him. I mean, those two statements seem pretty diametrically opposed, don't they? The speech is so misguided because it's like, you can't encourage the kids to be comfortable and come and talk to you. You gotta like build a rapport, you know what I mean? He's just expecting it to happen because he asked. And maybe that might work in some cases, but not after you just gave that really, really weird speech. I shared that with my mom and dad, and they reiterated to me that he just made a mistake, and they were going to pull me from my 8th period so I could stay away from the drama. Is this all part of the same mistake? Are we counting this just like a two-parter? Anyways, all throughout school that day, I heard whispers of, "That racist teacher." And some kids were crying about how they never wanted to see him in the school again for what he had done. Honestly, the air in the school was really uncomfortable. Luckily, to my friends, I was able to tell them as a staff kid what had actually happened, and they agreed that he wasn't a bad person. He was just uncomfortable to be around. To that, I agreed as well. The whole oppressor speech set a vibe of him for the year that, wasn't super great. I like how you put that. Honestly, I don't even remember a whole lot, but there was a sub for the rest of the week in his class, and many more rumors were spreading about how he got fired or how he'd never be able to teach again. Obviously, that wasn't true, but kids are stupid, and yeah, I'm one of them. It's all part of growing up. I'm just lucky enough to have parents that have more than a few brain cells. After that week, he came back and gave us a speech about how it had been a mistake and it'd never happen again, and how he wanted us to know that we could always come to him to talk about the use of language and blah, blah, blah. Again, this is something you should be demonstrating with your actions, not your words, right? So for about 2 weeks, Englishbeard seemed really tense. And then, around winter break, he just seemed to sort of give up. With other teachers quitting, our classroom now consisted of 2 whole classes, and yeah, he had a lot on his plate. Things weren't getting graded on time because he was given an extra 100-something kids, and to add on to that, most of the teachers now hated him and wanted to see him fired. He's weak, bro. Like, you wish you were the greatest oppressor. You gave that speech so you could feel like a big man, but you haven't done anything of substance with your life. Yeah, why not lay down and die when things are getting tough, right? That's the only thing that you've been taught to do? Stand up, fight back. What's wrong with you? Oh yeah, he's a beard. I almost forgot. But back to the story. After we came back from break, he gave us yet another speech, which would turn into a weekly thing, about how he was overloaded with assignments to grade, and he'd get things back as soon as he could. Ah, yes, who was more sympathetic about these things than high school children? Englishbeard also told us that he didn't appreciate or need the nasty emails that were bugging him to put our grades in. So for the rest of the year, we were given light busy work, if anything at all, and Englishbeard stayed at his desk watching gaming videos on YouTube. Is this your tax dollars at work, ladies and gentlemen? That's awful. It was honestly really sad to watch him fall into this depressed, irritable mood. Most classes, he wouldn't even talk to us anymore. He'd just chat with students who came up to him, and other than that, there was no instruction. My heart does go out to him a little bit. I understand what it's like to fall into the trap of depression, but you can't stay there forever. If nothing else, he should be pushing forward for the sake of these children. And if you don't really care about the sake of the children, well, you're probably in the wrong profession. So sad, yes, I agree, but also frustrating, more so. This year, however, Englishbeard is back to his loud self, so much so that you can hear him through the walls. I don't have him as a teacher this year, but my girlfriend does, and she does not like him. I'm in Daria's class, which is the room right next to Englishbeard, so a lot of the time Daria has to teach, while Englishbeard, in just the next room over, has his booming lecture about whatever it is that day. When he was my teacher, I had a hard time focusing on writing or reading because he was so loud, and his lectures were always up to 30 or 45 minutes long. We only have 90-minute class periods. Did you ever ask him to tone it down? Personally, I like this version of Englishbeard better, where he's passionate, maybe a little too passionate about what he's doing. But to stand up there and talk endlessly, like 3 hours a day, I guess, 4 different periods, 45 minutes each, that is not an easy thing to do, man. I see a pearl of light within Englishbeard, that he might strip off his beardy bindings, but only time will tell. The next bit I got from my girlfriend, who we'll call Wrestler. She lettered in wrestling freshman year because they won a championship, plus she can squat more than I weigh. Sounds cool. All right, I like this. The cinematic universe expands further. Oftentimes, Wrestler will make comments about how she doesn't want to go to Englishbeard's class because she can never get any work done. She's the type that needs a quiet environment to work in, or at the very least to be able to listen to music, but because Englishbeard rants all class long, she can't work effectively. But she also can't put in earbuds on the off chance that he actually says something important, although that doesn't happen very often. So what the hell is he up there talking for 45 minutes to all these classes about? Just complaining about his life? He's so pathetic. I do want to feel bad for him, but a bigger part of me is just like, how do you make the wrong decision every single time? And then you still expect sympathy for it? No, there's a limit. There's a limit. Continuing on. So one day in class, Wrestler is just ticked off with Englishbeard. So she puts in earbuds and works on her essay in peace. Towards the end of the class, another girl comes up to her and asks for help on the essay because she couldn't focus on writing with Englishbeard's incessant ranting. Wrestler agrees and they chat for a bit on what she could write, and Wrestler shows the girl her essay as an example. The girl asks if Wrestler could share the paper with her so she could reference it for her own writing. Wrestler says yes, and they go on their merry way. Well, it turns out that girl wrote an intro to her essay, but copied all of the rest of it from Wrestler. When Englishbeard is grading, he gives her a 50, and we don't know what he gave the other girl. Englishbeard told Wrestler, "I'm glad you were able to help one of your classmates, but next time be a little less helpful, okay?" This is another one of those how do you do fellow kids moments. It could be teachable, Englishbeard, if you cared enough. Whatever. So yes, Wrestler was given a bad grade because that girl went and plagiarized her paper without Wrestler even knowing. So needless to say, Wrestler's ticked off because she had to help a girl who couldn't work because Englishbeard wouldn't shut up and he didn't teach effectively. It wasn't her fault that the girl just snatched her paper, and she deserved to get a proper grade. Sure, maybe it wasn't the smartest to share her paper with that girl, but sweet, sweet Wrestler always sees the best in people. Well, I hope she continues to see the best in people, except for that one person that screwed me over. That's what it's about. So after Englishbeard told Wrestler why she got the grade she did, they didn't have time to talk more after class because the bell rung, but oh boy, she was gonna have a chat with him. I don't know exactly what was said, but in the end, Wrestler got a 90 on her essay and validation. And that's the most important thing of all. Another fun fact, Englishbeard has something called dysgraphia, which is like dyslexia, but when you're writing things down. Englishbeard explained to us how he can read just fine, but when he's writing, he'll sometimes spell something wrong and not really know what he spelt differently. This is important because Wrestler is dyslexic, and Englishbeard docks points for misspelled things, despite knowing that she's dyslexic. I can understand where he's coming from, but what if I edit her essay so it's more readable, and then he fails me for being too helpful? Someone has to help if he, the teacher, simply refuses to. Isn't the giving of the lower grade like the helpful part? Then it gives you incentive to not do that again. And yeah, proofreading, totally. That's allowed. I don't think that's too helpful. A lot of the regular writers for the channel have somebody to proofread for them. And that's probably the one point I'll ever agree with Englishbeard on. So his class, in a nutshell, is a rant that shakes the walls of the school, and very little learning is actually done. Englishbeard talks a whole lot, but he doesn't really say all that much. Verily, I think it was the bard that said, Brevity is levity. I'm glad I got out of his class, and I hope Wrestler is free of him next year. He's still known around campus as, oh, that old racist teacher, which makes me sad, but honestly, it's not my problem anymore. Cat's addition to my story is...
900 trillion H65890
I agree completely with what you just said there. So that's my bit about Englishbeard. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I may or may not add bits to LegbeardStories or BEARDSCHOOL later on, but if I do, I look forward to it. Be good, people. We goalie out. Edit. I was talking to Wrestler and she said, yeah, he gave me the I'm the greatest oppressor wine fest speech this year too. God, he's doing it in multiple classes? Have you no shame, Englishbeard? And truly, he doesn't. Part of this story does tug at my heartstrings. I've been through similar things. But whereas one person lays down and goes, well, I guess this is the end for me until he has time to recoup during the summer, the other says, we push forward until victory or death. I stick to what I said about this neckbeard versus the legbeards that we've covered so far, that they're basically two sides of the same coin, right? Everybody's just looking for a reason that it's not their fault, and I hate to be the one to say it, but it's your fault. How bad can I feel if you continue to choose mediocrity? All right, I'm getting a little worked up, so that's a good addendum, I suppose. Episode ain't too crazy quite yet, so let's get into part number 8 right about now. This is your friendly reminder that if you haven't subscribed yet, hey, maybe go ahead. School of Beards, Chapter 8, The Great Word War. Oh, I thought it was World War. That's clever. Hello, ReddX and ReddX industry partners. LegbeardStories coming at you today with a new tale of the beardiness at Standard High School. Before I get into all this, I have an aside. This was inspired by the tongue lashing that Gay Cop gave commenters in Fallout Beard, as well as some stuff currently happening at work that will likely lead to a future installment of this very saga, so bear with me while I get this out here. Oh boy, here we go again. To every YouTube commenter that wants to call me any kind of phobic, that I don't support my students properly, that I'm awful for whatever numerous reasons, I honestly stopped reading the comments after the second Beard School video, and after the third, I turned off notifications altogether. But you still rung the bell for ReddX videos, didn't you? Didn't you? Let me say this to you. You have no idea what it's like to lose sleep over concern for a kid that isn't even yours, and that you're limited in ways you can help because there are boundaries you simply can't cross. You don't know what it's like to have a child being mentally abused at home, but also knowing that you live in a state where conversion therapy is considered just fine, so you can't really make a child protective services report. You don't know what it's like to have knots in your stomach and be thrown into fight mode just to protect the kid's right to exist in a way that makes them comfortable. I might have my personal views about certain things, but no, that doesn't matter when I step into these hallways. When I'm in these halls, I'm not a Democrat, Republican, independent, liberal, conservative, or anything else. I am neutral. My personal views are totally irrelevant, and my only goal within these walls is to keep every single student that walks down these halls safe, both mentally and physically. I would lay down my life for every single one of these kids, and in America, that's actually a concern, regardless of if I personally agree with them or not. I'm writing this as yet another battle is gearing up that my students are at the center of, and I'm prepared to fight however hard I have to in order to ensure the best outcome for these kids. I'm currently exhausted from losing sleep over the whole ordeal, so to those that want to judge me or tell me I'm a poor educator, piss off. You did not know the love that I have for my job and my students. If you have kids, I hope they have a teacher to fight for them just as hard as I fight, because I've seen personally that not all teachers will. Thank you, Cop, for giving me the inspiration to speak out on that. Honestly, you never get like a decent reply. My advice to you regarding this is just to focus on the positive comments. They far outweigh the negative comments. But I don't know, I'm probably more used to public scrutiny than you are, so I get it too. Now let's skip over a cast list and just get right into the story. Where we last left off, Pitbeard claimed she was going to resign, and Englishbeard was at his wit's end. We were midway through second semester by this time, and it was quickly getting to the point that contracts would be sent out. What, like a hitman or something? No, this is the time of year that teachers always wonder who is having their contracts renewed. Honestly, with the teacher shortage going on, it's unlikely to not have a contract renewed, but it is still a very stressful time, especially for Callie and myself. On top of beard tension and contracts, we were also in the midst of the ESL state testing, and we were trying to collect the writing samples for every single core subject teacher in the school. Oh my god, it's so much work for no reason at all. For perspective, Standard High School is not a small school. We have somewhere around 2,100 students, and that obviously requires a lot of teachers. Some of them were amazing and got their samples to us without incident, like Sonia. Others needed several reminders. Beetle, I'm looking at you, love. Bro, why you gotta do Beetle like that, though? That's... Some secrets are meant to be kept. And still others we had to practically beg. Among those we had to beg, of course, Englishbeard, Avidbeard, and Pitbeard. No surprise there. I do want to note that it was not only the Beards, it was the Beards and several coaches. The coaches, they're a tale unto themselves, and perhaps someday I will do a coach interlude part. The coaches are by and large chads, not beards, but they're still pretty cringy in their own right. I don't turn my nose up at different flavors of cringe. Trust me, you write the story, we'll find a place for it. Anyway, as we got closer and closer to the deadline that we had given, we started to pester teachers that hadn't given us writing samples more and more. And then the deadline came and went. Callie and I were glad that we'd given the staff an early deadline, 2 weeks before the actual deadline. As I said, most of the teachers hit the deadline that we gave them. The Beards, however, they did not. I'm not even mad at the Beards at this point either. All this federal government BS. Oh, come on, Red, don't you like No Child Left Behind? No, I don't. Nobody does. It's a video for another day. We had finally reached the very last week before the hard state deadline. District ESL was sending emails to Callie and me daily, chewing us out for not having everything done already. We tried to explain that we were on it and we were trying our best to get the writing samples, but that wasn't enough. Some very unprofessional emails followed from the district. I won't go into detail about what they said, but I will say we lost some good ESL teachers at other campuses due to the emails flying around from the district at this time. Okay, you dug your grave, now lie in it. It was this incident that made Callie realize that she was not doing ESL again after that year as well. It was a very stressful time. There were nights I was on campus until 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, working on all of this testing and writing sample BS. Beetle helped as much as he was able, and Wee One spent many evenings falling asleep on the floor of my classroom because I just couldn't leave. Good God, dude. This is really a job that you have either gotta love intensely or you will hate it just as intensely. Oh, many nights during those couple of hectic months, I went home and just cried while Beetle tried to comfort me. Callie was getting physically ill from the stress, and I comforted her when she cried many afternoons as well. I rarely ever cry at work, and I broke down in Miss Dean's office one day because I just couldn't take it. It was a nightmare. I mean, what's the drawback if you just decide not to make it happen? You know what? I don't even need your state of federal funding. Thank you so much. That is all to say, I just didn't have the time or the patience for the Beards crap at this point. I was tired of being berated for something that I was spending 12 plus hours a day trying to get done. It was the week of the final deadline, and Callie and I were in the ESL room trying to decide what the hell else we could do. We might just have to go into their classes and pull students out and make them write it in front of us, I sighed. Callie looked at me. Like, when? while we're teaching or whatever? No, but every single moment other than that. No meetings, no planning, no nothing until we get those writing samples that we need. And if we end up without any lesson plans, well, so be it, I said. Callie nodded. Well, like, I guess that's the way it has to be then, or whatever. Like, this is totally what they want. Hell yeah, teacher with no lesson plans. I also like to live dangerously. I nodded. Okay, so let's figure out who's able to go to which teachers and we'll go from there. After all was said and done, I had 4 kids that I needed to get at one time. 3 from Englishbeard and 1 from Pitbeard. So I went to Englishbeard's class. He was at the computer. Shocker. I went to his desk. I need these 3 students. They have to do writing samples. Now, I said. Englishbeard looked around his room and called those students. Mr. Englishbeard, student 3's absent today, one of the other kids said.
Oh, right. I do that. Oh, well, you just take the other 2. Sorry I didn't get you the samples myself. Time just got away from me.
It does tend to happen on YouTube. Maybe you should watch it at work. Whatever. He said all this as he turned his focus back to the computer. Ugh, loser. I did not want to go off in front of the students, so I just turned and walked out with the 2 students I had, and then I went across the hall to Pitbeard's room. Pitbeard, I need this student, I said.
We're busy today,
she said. Yeah, well, I need writing samples, so she'll have to catch up when she comes back. You never gave me a sample for her, I said. Pitbeard rolled her eyes.
Fine! It's not my fault she's missing important instruction!
Then you push further and you ask, like, why is this so vital? Please enlighten me. But then again, that's probably just inviting trouble. Take the kid and run. That's the right answer. I gritted my teeth, but I said nothing. That's the good choice. But I was thinking, yeah, sure it is. You should have gotten this writing sample weeks ago. I sat the students down in our workspace that we had in the hall and told them what I needed from them. And I sat them there until they finished writing. Okay, great. I could check 3 of them off the list. And that's how the week went. Callie and I spent every moment we weren't in class going from Beards to Chads to get samples. Every time I'd go into Englishbeard's room, he didn't care if I took kids out or not. Usually he wasn't even sure who was there or not. Pitbeard, on the other hand, always got annoyed with me. Luckily, Avidbeard only had kids in periods that I had my own classes, so Callie handled her, but she said that she was very snippy about it. The coaches also seemed very inconvenienced. We were not well liked on campus that week, but I was way past caring. That's fine, you're not my friend, you're my coworker. Do what I need to get done. Then I'm going home and I'm not gonna think about you until I show up to this hellhole again. It was rough, but on the very last day, we got the very last sample. Callie and I had done it! The cost to our mental health had been high, but we did what the district asked. And we still got in trouble because there was one student that we overlooked for other testing. By the time ESL testing was over, I was mentally just done. I had no more spoons left to deal with the neckbeardery that plagued my work life. Beetle suggested we take a couple of days off. I still had most of my vacation days available. I rarely take time off. And Beetle had a few as well. So we decided to have a nice 4-day weekend before I cracked. We didn't go anywhere. We didn't do anything. Mostly I sat on the sofa playing video games. Games that I had not been able to touch in months while Beetle took care of me. We played a lot of WoW. I obliterated as many horde as I could, each orc reminding me of a beard that made my life harder. I was not the rogue to be messed with those days. Those are the best vacations, aren't they? 4 days of just smoking a small bag of dope and watching a pirated DVD of Anchorman. Ah, this is the life. After my much needed break, I went back to work. Not exactly refreshed, but at least not feeling completely homicidal anymore. I went back to a big case of Diet Dr. Pepper and a big case of Cheetos on my desk with a note from Daria thanking me for all the work that I put into testing. You know, she's a good egg. She said she knew the long nights and rough days that I dealt with, but that I did it all with professionalism and grace, and she appreciated it. And for the second time that month, I cried at work. This was becoming a habit that I did not like. In all of this testing melee, there had been another unfortunate casualty, and that was the GSA. I simply could not make it to the meetings with all the work that I had to do, so Pitbeard had taken over for several weeks at this point. Oh boy. When I finally returned, Pitbeard moved the meetings to her classroom. I walked in, and after being hit with her unique smell of BO and
all natural deodorant,
I noticed kids standing around tables and eating donuts. All of the work that I had done. All of it. Undone in just a few short weeks. I mean, I can't be surprised, but now that you're back, put the pants back on. All right, Daddy's home. Stuff is changing.
Hi, Miss Mandy. Want a donut?
Pitbeard smiled at me. I don't, but you certainly seem to have had your fill. I just glared back, but I did take a donut. Duh. What are we working on today? I asked.
Just planning some ideas for the school news,
Pitbeard said. Really? It looks like they're just going wild in here, I said.
They're being creative,
she snapped. Just a bunch of free-range kids, huh? There was really nothing I could do but try to contain this insanity for the moment. Guys, off the table! We don't need to stand on tables to brainstorm ideas, I said. The kids did get off the tables, and I was able to keep them in the room, but that was about as far as I got with a bunch of sugar-fueled teenagers. At the end of the meeting, I stood in front of the door. Okay, guys, sorry I missed a few meetings, but I am back now. Next week, we'll be meeting in my room again. See you guys then, I said, as I dismissed the meeting before Pitbeard could object. Good move. When all the kids were gone, I was cleaning up the mess they left behind, and Pitbeard was packing her things.
They should be allowed to do whatever they want for their school news segment,
she said. Do you remember what happened last time? No. We were told to review any ideas that they might have, I reminded her.
These kids are stifled enough. They need to be able to express themselves, Pitbeard
said. And they can, within the bounds of being school appropriate, I said.
Fine, I have to go to yoga, bye!
Good riddance, she said as she stormed out of the room, leaving me to finish cleaning up the mess in her classroom. You should have just left it. Honestly, dude, come on. Come in the next day to ants. The next day we had an English 1 meeting, which I now had time again to attend. Mandy, you're back. You survived, Gabby greeted me. Just barely. Good to see you lot, I smiled as I took my seat next to Beetle. It'll be nice not to, live here anymore, Beetle smiled. I bet. I know you had a lot of late nights up here, Sonia said, and I nodded. But it's over, and now we just have to finish up the year. And then, summer school. Gabby looked at me. Summer school? Are you serious? I nodded. Yeah, Beetle and I'll both be teaching summer school.
Why?
Avidbeard asked. Because I want to save up and visit Australia. I don't have any family left there that I speak to, but I miss Oz in general, and I'd like to visit, I said. That was the plan. We ended up having to spend the money to move into a new house, so I am still waiting to visit home. No, truly it do be like that. It's been 7-8 years since I've been back to the States. 6-month trip turned into a decade real fast. That makes sense, Sonia nodded. Pitbeard then walked in at about that time and sat down next to Avidbeard.
Where have you been?
Avidbeard asked.
Sorry, I lost track of time. I was having a conversation with Winnie about how absolutely sexist and transphobic it is to say guys to a group,
Pitbeard said. Yeah, that's why you gotta call them dudes. Hey dudes, what's up? Wait, what? I asked.
to walk into a room with a group of people and say, "Hey guys," is sexist.
Pitbeard repeated. I blinked. No, it isn't. In the colloquial context, the guys would be gender neutral, like dude. Oh, that's what I just said. You could use dudette, but nobody does. Beetle nodded. Yeah, everyone's a dude. Welcome to Good Burger. Pitbeard looked annoyed.
No, dude is just as offensive as guys. It presumes gender.
Okay, whatever. I'm sorry you felt the need to take it that way. Hey you, yeah you, reading or listening to this, if you agree with Pitbeard's last statement, you are part of the problem. Oh, OP getting real confrontational up in here. I don't really care if you agree with the statement or not, honestly. You can respond however you like, and then I'll respond to your response, which will probably just be ignoring it completely. Letting you seethe and mauled. About this time, OP says, well, no one is presuming gender, Pitbeard. It's a generalized term. I just say y'all. No gender to it, Gabby said. But dude is genderless too, Beetle argued.
No, it's not. It's offensive and could make our transgender students feel bad.
Pitbeard chastised. Oh, come on. You just fighting everybody else's war on their behalf when probably they had no problem with it. This is dumb. When I walk into my classroom and say, good morning, guys, I'm not presuming all my students are male, nor am I only telling my male students good morning. I'm using language in a colloquial way to let the group know that I'm speaking to them as a whole, I argued. And this is the sort of crap that English teachers debate. The use of language. I don't care about any of that unless you do it in silly voices. And I still say that dude and guys, when used in a group setting, is colloquially genderless, and I will die on that hill. I don't think it's a hill worth dying on, honestly. There's probably some people that will come up that hill and try and get you, but let it roll off your back. You have no power here. You have no power here. All right, y'all, that's enough. Let's get started, Gabby said, trying to bring the meeting to order. How are you guys grading the last essay we assigned? Sonia asked.
Some of these kids don't deserve a grade,
Beard said. I looked at her. What?
Not my students. My students are far more advanced. I was looking at the student in y'all's classes and wow, how did you read that crap?
Beard asked. I rolled my eyes. She thought her students were better because they were advanced. Some of them were okay, Sonia said.
They aren't ready for state testing. Not sure what you're all going to do, Beard
said.
Oh, I didn't tell you, Beard. I turned in my resignation,
Pitbeard said happily. Oh, you did? When are you leaving school? I asked. Toned it down with the eagerness.
The week before the last week of school,
Pitbeard said. Why not just stay that last week? Beetle asked.
I'm going to go backpacking around France, and my flight leaves the week before school ends,
Pitbeard said. Do you have another job lined up? I asked. Pitbeard shook her head.
No, but I'll find something.
Yeah, that's totally how it works. Jam myself into a job cannon, shoot myself off the job land where the jobs grow on jobbies. I was excited, but also I didn't want to show it.
I have an interview next week,
Beard said. You do? For what? Gabby asked.
An Avid coordinator position at the new high school they're opening next year,
Beard said. Oh, I heard about that new high school. It's gonna be elite. Students have to apply to go there, Sonia said. Beard nodded proudly.
Yes, only the best students get accepted.
Well, how about the best teachers? Because if they're only hiring the best, you're already out of the running. I fought the urge to roll my eyes. This could be good. Maybe I'd be rid of both the Legbeards soon enough. And that's where I'll leave you for this one, dear reader. This one was a bit hard for me to write. The testing months were a dark time for me, and I think I had forgotten just how dark until I revisited it. Next time we'll wrap up the school year, but not the tale. I still have at least 2 to 3 more parts that I can give you for now, so thank you for taking this journey with me. Until next time. It couldn't be that easy, could it? Just like, oh yeah, the Legbeards went to different school. I don't see them no more. I don't think the resolution's gonna be that simple, but I guess we'll have to wait until the next one to find out a little bit more. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video around. I really would appreciate that. This is some lighter cringe, but still fascinating to me. Thank you to everyone who follows me on social medias. Those links in the description. Thank you to my Patreon patrons and YouTube channel members. Most of all, thanks to you for being here and listening along with me. Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it, and I shall see you in the next one. So until then, friends, bye-bye.